Ah, hello. Hello, can everybody hear me? I'm always a bit conscious about the microphone at the start of these things. I've had them go really bad before. Uh, Good evening, everybody. Matt, Hugo. Ah, Matthew, hello. Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Is this coming through okay? Just want to make sure. Hello. Luke, hello. Ah, good. I'm assuming that everyone can hear me. Okay, that's good. Well, thanks for joining me at such short notice. I'm hearable. Thank you, Cybergin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Cybergin. Cybergin. Yes, man. Thank you. Loud and clear. Excellent. Excellent. Hopefully not too loud. Hello. Excellent. Excellent. Right. Okay. So this was not part of my evening plans. I have been building a Lego Aston Martin DB5, and I've been filming myself doing it. I'm gonna make a video out of it, and then my camera battery ran out, and I sort of I planned on spending about an hour this evening on it. So yeah, I thought instead I would do a little live stream, and as I normally have a drink for these live streams, I thought I would see what I had in my alcohol cabinet, and someone recently bought me some blackcurrant gin, which I have used to create a Vesper martini, but with blackcurrant gin instead of Gordon's gin. So I've not tasted it yet. It might be horrible. It could well end up being quite disgusting. However, I quite liked because you probably can't really see because my hand, but it's got a bit of a purpley kind of hue, much like Vesper's dress in Casino Royale. So I thought it was quite appropriate, and maybe they'll add it to the Bond cocktail book. If it is a big success. A pink Vesper indeed. Yes. Thank you. So, like I said, this is a Vesper, but it's got obviously no lemon in it. I didn't know if that'd be appropriate, but it's got blackcurrant gin in it. So, here goes. Wish me luck. Ooh. Ooh. Slightly medicinal, actually. Slightly medicinal. Oh, goodness. I don't know if that's I don't know if that will get in any kind of official Bond cocktail book anytime soon, but I thought it would be appropriate anyway. Medicinal, but also quite tasty. So yeah, I'm sure Ian Fleming will be rolling over in his grave. Ben Cole, glad you could join. Is medicinal good? I guess. I mean, I was partial to a bit of Calpol when I was a young lad. Right, drain cleaner. Thank you, JPC. Perhaps a little bit, but a bit of flushing out of the toxins can only be a good thing, surely. Lennon Voss, we do indeed meet again. Okay, so I'm just gonna do as I normally do and just answer some questions over the course of the next hour. So please just send me any kind of Bond related or movie related or indeed life, philosophy. We can talk about all manner of things, and I may occasionally bring in some props. I just want to show you my Lego Aston Martin, which is not quite completed yet, which is what some of these bits. But I've had a real time making this thing. It's been really quite good, but some of the parts just end up slipping out every now and then, which is a bit frustrating. But I really like it, but this face has always kind of bothered me. I think that's why I've come so long before actually getting around to building this, because it looks kind of startled. So anyway, I'll have a video up about that at some point in the future. So, Dutch Bond fan, hello. Glad you could join. Yes, because I think Dutch Bond fan did a live stream where he actually built the Lego Aston Martin, if I'm correct in that, or at least built a part of it, because bloody hell, it takes hours. Right, okay, some questions. What are your thoughts on the rhythm section? I have not seen the rhythm section yet. I think I would quite like to at some point, but it was like out in cinemas for like a week here, and then it was just gone, and it was like, oh, okay, well, there was no waiting until the next week for the crowds to die down so I could get a seat, which was I would like to see it, just because obviously it is an Eon film, so much like I would like to see Call Me Buana at some point in my life, but it's just kind of impossible to find on DVD or any kind of streaming service here in the UK, which is a bit annoying. Oh, Dutch Bond fan, yes, takes hours. It is quite enjoyable. Like, I think if you like that kind of, because it's certainly the most complex Lego thing I've ever built. I used to love Lego when I was a kid, but I just like putting, I listened to podcast I was just listening to earlier on when I was building. I was listening to the James Bond radio. Was it Neil Purvis or Robert Wade who was on that podcast? But they had like recorded an interview with an interview that either Robert Purvis or Neil Purvis and Robert Wade. God, they get mixed up in my mind. Anyway, great podcast. Do head over and check it out if you haven't. Calvin, have you heard of Golgo 13? No, I have not. I do not know what that is. It was Wade. Thank you, Two Wind Swords. Now, I don't know what Golgo 13 is. Hey, Calvin, what would your thoughts be on the Becoming Bond movie on Hulu? Oh, that's the George Lazenby one, isn't it? Because I watched that on Amazon Prime a couple of years ago now. I thought it was really interesting. I would have liked to perhaps have gotten a bit more of other perspectives, I guess, because it is kind of George Lazenby talking and then dramatizations of some of the stuff that he's talking about. And I would have appreciated, Diana Rigg to be in there, or maybe even someone who wasn't necessarily on the set but still has a perspective, like Michael G. Wilson. Like, it would have been nice to have some kind of other perspective, I think. David Zaritsky, Joe Darlington, Dutch Bond fan, marry, kiss, kill. That is hilarious, and I'm gonna have to think about that one, because hopefully we're all gonna be meeting up next April. So in just over a month's time, hopefully we're all gonna be meeting up. So maybe we can actually do it. We'll go around one another and see what we all say. That's interesting. This will be the very last Eon Bond movie. I'm certainly hoping not Verona. It depends. I have no kind of insider information. I have no idea what Eon's plans are after this. I would imagine there would certainly be some kind of a reboot. I have no reason to believe that Eon wouldn't keep on doing it. So, yeah. Thoughts on the Fukunaga video? Looks super promising. I completely agree. I was absolutely thrilled by that, actually, just to hear a director, like, as much as I love Skyfall, obviously, and what Sam Mendes did with that, I'm quite happy that we've got a director who seems to sort of appreciate that there is art in huge action, spectacle kind of movies, which I think Cary Fukunaga gets perhaps a bit more than Sam Mendes did, who is obviously going to be a more philosophical filmmaker, I guess is perhaps the right word. Not to say that Cary Fukunaga isn't, but I think he understands more the legacy of the series and what he's supposed to bring. And that came through in that video that he did anyway, which I thought was superb. Matthew Picton. Hi, Calvin. You've said in a previous live show that you dislike James Corden, so would you automatically boycott a movie if he starred in it? I don't think I'd ever boycott any Bond movie. They'd have to do something fairly gross for me to boycott it. I wouldn't like it if he were in it, and I can't think of any universe in the world where he would be in it. If we'd continued down the line of the likes of, John Cleese, being Q, perhaps James Corden might have been Q somewhere down the line in some terrible universe that we're fortunate to not exist in. Will you do a review of Johnny English Strikes Again? Yes, I will. It'll probably be sometime after No Time to Die has come out and come and gone. Just because right now I'm just so focused on that and all the Bond stuff, and I'm really on the hype train, so I'm talking about so much Bond stuff, like the video that I did on my channel about the Welcome to Japan Mr. Bond special. I love to have an excuse to talk about that, and that's the kind of minutia that I'm going into on this hype train. I'm watching all of the extras again and that kind of stuff, listening to the commentaries, and it's I'm just too excited for actual Bond at the moment. Do you think Mr. Kidd and Mr. Winter homophobic? That's a very good question, Brian. Well, I think that in the film, I don't believe they are. It depends. It depends on whether or not you think that any kind of representation of like a gay couple like that on screen is a good thing, because a part of their villainy is that they are a gay couple, and that's supposed to be something I think a bit grotesque about them. It certainly is in the book. I think the film probably handles that a bit better. But yeah. I hope you can review Indiana Jones Last Crusade. It's truly the best Indiana Jones movie. I completely agree with you. I rewatched it not that long ago, actually, and it's just, it is the absolute best. I'm not quite sure how I feel about... Anyone else seen that news about Steven Spielberg isn't going to be directing the 5th film, which... I mean, why bother doing it if it's... yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame, really, that Indiana Jones can't be like James Bond, and they can change the actors. And I know that they had different actors play Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones, but Harrison Ford is just... It's not that even he's too iconic, because I think so many of the Bond actors are iconic in that role. But there's just something about it. I guess when you play a character like Harrison Ford has over, 40 years now it'll be, you do just become attached to it in a way sort of that I don't know if any of the Bond actors actually have. Thor, hello from Norway. Oliver Hey-Ho, thoughts on Bates Motel, the TV show, or the failed TV pilot from the 80s? Because I love Bates Motel. I think it's really great series. Psycho is probably my all-time favorite film, and I think Bates Motel transitioned that story to television really, really well, actually, and added a lot to it, which is cool. What did everyone think of the No Time to Die poster then? Yes, the one that came out today. I was a big fan of it, because finally we had a proper character poster with all the characters on it and all that kind of stuff. I've seen people be sort of like, well, it's just like what Avengers have been doing and Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I agree that it's not exactly a groundbreaking poster, but when you look at the Bond posters, I'm just looking over at the Daniel Craig ones, it's really not, it's been... Casino Royale had some nice imagery on it and scenes from different shots from scenes in the film and stuff, but otherwise it's been sort of like Craig alone, and it's nice just to have some more characters on it, I think. Do you think there will be a gun barrel at the start of the new film? I believe there will be, yes. I was in England not too long ago, Calvin. Visited my now Jeff in Southend for Valentine's Day. Oh, excellent. I hope you had a good time. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been to Southend. Sam Harrison, I used to hate Moonraker, but I really enjoy it now. Good. I see that opinion come up more and more now, and I'm so thrilled that more people are, gelling with Moonraker now. So that's very good. What are your thoughts on Joker? I haven't actually seen Joker yet. I'm not a huge DC comic fan or comic book movie fan in general, really. I think I've said on these many times before, I like X-Men. I do like Batman. But not to the extent that I'm willing to go and watch a Joker movie, I guess. Can you wish me and my wife a happy anniversary? Yes, Danny MacGyver. You don't say many happy returns on an anniversary, do you? But very happy anniversary to both of you. I hope you've had a lovely weekend and are going to continue having a lovely weekend. Lisa Nandy, Keir Starmer, or Rebecca Long Bailey. Red D, it's got political already, and I've only been on for 13 minutes. Lisa Nandy. Going to lose followers for that, I'm sure. Right, okay. Do you like the Star Wars prequels? I do, especially in retrospect. When it comes to the sequel trilogy, I think the prequels have actually ended up looking quite good out of the sequel Star Wars trilogy. Hey Calvin, have you played No One Lives Forever? It's a 60s style first-person shooter that takes inspiration from Get Smart and Connery Bond. I haven't, but people have recommended that to me a few times, as they have Hitman as well, which I do actually own now. I got a second-hand version from CEX not that long ago, so I do actually need to finally get around to that. Right, Callum Crayston. Hi Calvin, what is your thoughts on Letting It Settle on No Time to Die by Billie Eilish? Loving the car. How are you doing? Could you please review some Star Wars as well? I would like to review Star Wars, but I think if I were to do that, I would probably end up starting a different YouTube channel. I still would like to keep this channel certainly Bond focused, and then the odd shoot off into other spy movies, or indeed whatever the Patreon voters vote that I should review next. Oh God, I can't remember what the first part of that question. Oh, No Time to Die, Billie Eilish. I love it. I was in bed this morning actually, and it came on the radio. I was listening to Radio 2, and it came on, and I love it. I think it's really quite beautiful. I think reception to it has been relatively mixed, but on the whole, I think it's actually been quite good, or at least from what I've been seeing, which is quite nice. Hi, Calvin. Any thoughts on Martin Freeman as the next Q? You know, I think he'd actually be brilliant. Francis Peter Canavan. I think Martin Freeman as the next Q would be quite good, because of course we don't know if Ben Whishaw is indeed going to be coming back, which I've been thinking about making a video on it actually. Sorry. Because I find it, interesting. He said that his contract will be fulfilled after this, and actually I talked about this in a video, didn't I, where if you want to keep Ben Whishaw on, you're going to have to expand his role and give him scenes to play. Whereas I think it would be better to get an actor who would be willing to come in and just be an iconic piece of something, rather than needing the spotlight on him necessarily. Hashtag Mr. Kid and Mr. Wint for the win. Quite right. Ricky Gervais next Bond. Connor Bench. That is an interesting suggestion, and one that I cannot agree with. But David Mitchell is Q. David James, very glad you could make it. Thank you. I actually love David Mitchell. Again, I was watching that show he's on, the panel show. Would I Lie to You? And he's fantastic. Peep Show is one of my all-time favorite British sitcoms. So this Papa John's. No. No Papa John's here, I'm afraid. Just my strange take on a Vesper, which actually, the more I sip it, the more I like it. It's a Vesper, but with blackcurrant gin instead of regular gin. If you can imagine such a thing. But I just thought, because it's got that kind of pinky purple hue, I thought, like, Vesper's dress, Casino Royale, it kind of fits in, right? Matthew the Geek. Hey, Calvin. Do you think Bond will ironically die in No Time to Die? I don't think he will. I have enough faith in the people making the film to know that no one wants Bond to die. So why would you do that? At the most, I could see them doing something a bit similar to The Dark Knight Rises, where you think that Bruce Wayne has died, and then you just have that sort of little tease at the end where it's like, oh, but is he dead? I could imagine them doing that, but not anything concrete. I don't think we're going to get his head chopped off, or he's going to be, incinerated. JB, do you like the new NPL jumper? I do. I really, really do. I've had a real crash course in a lot of the Bond products and the style and all that kind of stuff this last year, really. And I own a couple of the NPL products myself, and they're fantastic. I own the turtleneck from Spectre, and then the blue jumper that Brosnan wears in GoldenEye when he's being evaluated by Caroline. Ryan O'Neill, rumored 15 rating from the BBFC. Really? That's the first I've heard of that. That would be quite interesting if it was a 15. I can't imagine they would go that far. I still think it's going to be a 12A here in the UK, which is the equivalent of a PG-13 in the States. James Burkett, we have the same eye color. Oh, that's good. Yes. Hazel eyes. Harvey Cooper, again, thoughts on the rumored 15 rating. Oh, wow, this has really slipped me by. I guess it'd be the first 15 rated Bond since License to Kill in the cinemas anyway. GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies, of course, were retroactively 15s when they were released uncut on DVD. I mean, it doesn't affect me at all because I'm 30, so I can get in. But I think they'd be missing a trick by limiting the ability for, 12-year-olds and then younger with parents to go and see it, particularly as, like, I think so many of us become Bond fans in our adolescence, and I think it's important that you don't alienate that audience too much, and I don't know if the Craig era has done all that much to entice new audiences, so I think they need to have as big an appeal as they can possibly get. How the hell was Tomorrow Never Dies a 15? It was specifically, if I remember rightly, on the DVD, which was released uncut, and the Blu-ray, in fact, there's a couple of headbutts, I think, and there's a moment where Bond, like, stamps on a guy's head to knock him out, and I believe that was deemed a little bit too strong by the BBFC, so it was cut out of the 12 version, and yeah, reinstated for the DVD. Calvin, you want some ranch sunflower seeds? Don't know what that is. I don't have a garden, so I can't grow any, I'm afraid. Hey, Calvin, what do you think of the 2 hours, 45 minutes runtime? I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic, especially as it's been so long since we've had a new Bond film. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally up for a Bond film that length. Lorenzo Granger, glad you could join. Hello. Hope you review video game reviews of The World Is Not Enough. Yes, on the PS1. I actually recorded my playthrough for The World Is Not Enough. I had a day off work on Monday to do a lot of video stuff and get some edits done and stuff. And I did record my entire playthrough for The World Is Not Enough on the PS1. So I'm hoping to have that up in the next month or so. But the video game reviews can take a while because there's quite a big bulk of footage there to go through and it takes time. So yes, but I'm hoping that it'll be up before No Time to Die. Yes, it's the headbutts and the station change scene with the baseball bat. Ah, right, of course, yes. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Constantine. What are your opinions on the scene where Bond enters Drax's waterfall base? In Moonraker? The bit where he has the fight with the snake. I mean, I think it's hilarious. I love Roger Moore grappling with a snake in the water. I think that's fantastic. There is that great bit where he's followed that lady in, obviously, and then they're all just like, all these beautiful women are just stood around staring at him, and he gets onto that rock and he's just looking around like no one's saying anything. I would love to know what direction he was given in that scene by Lewis Gilbert. Just like, yeah, if you could just like go up onto the rock and then just sort of stand there for a bit, that'd be quite good. Calvin, what do you do for a living? I work in kids entertainment. Actually, I work in animation, so television animation made in Europe. Roger Moore is sexy. I quite agree. He is. Unpopular opinion, I like Spectre, Faith, Hope, and Charity. Well, I actually watched that last weekend, and it hasn't necessarily gone up in my rankings or anything, but I had, you know what, I had a better time with it than I remembered. So, yeah, take from that what you will. Any plans to review the James Bond radio dramas? Well, I'm going through the books at the moment, so I'm on to the John Gardner ones, so these take up a lot of my time. I put up my review of License Renewed recently. I've read Special Services, 4 Special Services, so I'll be putting that review up soon. I've got it typed out, I just need to film it. And then I am currently reading Icebreaker, and then I've got the next John Gardner ones. This one really annoys me because when you line them all up, it's significantly taller than the other ones. That's gonna really bother me. But yeah, so radio dramas perhaps, but it will be probably after I'm done with the books, which will probably be about 2026. Do you think they're going to pull off a 60th year anniversary movie in 2022? I don't know if they will at this stage, which is a shame because they would need, if they can possibly do it with Daniel Craig, then I think that would be an option. But if you're going to reboot with a completely new actor in that short space of time, I think the audiences are going to need a bit longer now to kind of, get over Daniel Craig, basically. Calvin, admit it, meeting Brosnan was cool, right? It was very cool, though I strictly didn't meet him, but I was just sort of awkwardly swimming a few feet away from him for a time. Did say, hi to his wife, so that was nice. Rogue Cut or GoldenEye, since they're both 10 out of 10s for you. Also, thoughts on Rise of Skywalker, Rogue Cut or GoldenEye? I'm not sure what that means, but Rise of Skywalker I really enjoyed on a pure sort of roller coaster level of like, this is just, I finally got what I wanted from a Star Wars film in the sequel trilogy, which is 3 humans, 2 droids, and a Wookiee go on an adventure. Like, that's all I wanted from this, and I kind of got that for the first hour when they go off. But I can understand that it did feel like it was fan fiction. It did a lot of things really unsatisfactorily. That and Force Awakens feel like bookends to a trilogy with no middle bit, which is a problem. Hi, Calvin. Would you like to see a new QM and Moneypenny after Craig? I'm kind of torn. I would like to see Ben Whishaw and Ben Whishaw carry on. I like Ben Whishaw. Ray Fiennes I don't have much of an attachment to, so I could totally see someone else in that role. I'm kind of a fan of the idea that each Bond have their own money penny, because I think that kind of chemistry has to be built between two actors, and then I think for a money penny to go onto another actor, and it would feel awkward, I think, as it did with Lois Maxwell when Roger Moore took over in those first few films. I think it takes them up until For Your Eyes Only before they have some really good chemistry and banter. Of course, they were very good friends in real life, so they did have that chemistry in real life, but it just didn't translate to the screen. It looked like they were kind of uncomfortable about flirting with each other. Yes, man, I had a similar encounter with Ben Whishaw. Met him at the bathroom of a theater. Ah, that's interesting. I would have no idea what to do if I was like stood at a urinal and Daniel Craig walked over. I'd have no idea what I'd do. I'd probably freeze up and piss on his boots or something. Unpopular opinion, my favorite Roger Moore Bond performance is Octopussy, especially when he's interrogating Olaf. I think Octopussy is a severely underrated film in the series, to be quite honest, and I think Roger's actually fantastic in it. I think I wish more people would go back to that. And I'm not saying like Bond fans, because I think we all understand this series, but just when you see articles and the like written by non-Bond fans, and they're always Octopussy's always like way down at the bottom, I'm like, but have you really watched it recently? Ben Cole, have you ever been to The Room screening at the Prince Charles Cinema? I have, and it was great. If you don't know what The Room is, it's like the best bad movie ever made, and the director, star, producer, screenwriter is all one man, and he's quite nuts, and does a really good Q&A. The Prince Charles Cinema in London do really good screenings of that film. They're very much audience participation, so people will be shouting out things from behind and stuff, but that kind of just adds to the pleasure of it, really. I saw it once at Prince Charles, and then when I was a student at the Hyde Park Picture House in Leeds. So I saw it there, and it was, very good. Ryan O'Neill, the interviewer said to Robert Wade that it was a 15 BTW. Did he? I don't know if I picked up on that then. Thoughts on the Fukunaga commentary? The video that came up, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. He sounds like he really gets it, so that's good. What's your favorite superhero? Does Magneto count? I love Magneto. I like all of the bad guys in the X-Men, really. Throwing spoons everywhere. Indeed, Ben Cole. Did you go, Ben Cole, to one of the room screenings? Do you collect James Bond pop figures? As in the the pop figures. No, I don't actually. Largely because I don't have all that much space. So I would like to have like a big sort of like room collection of Bond stuff, but just don't have the space for it right now. I'm renting a place in London. Calvin, I love No Time to Die, and I rate it as my all-time favorite Bond theme of all time, before The Living Daylights and Skyfall. I hope to see Madeline Swan and Bond get married. Well, Callum Crayston, might well happen. Certainly, I wouldn't surprise me if we opened up No Time to Die with them already married. So, James C. Calvin, do you make any $$ from your YouTube channel? There is there's like YouTube put ads on your video, and you can monetize a video through that scheme. And obviously I do. But for me, because I use copyrighted content in most of my videos, that monetization is claimed by MGM. Or whoever it might be that owns, a song that I use or something. So if there's film footage in it, I don't, get anything from that. Whereas book reviews, that sort of thing, they don't claim those like they do most of these, which is a shame because the videos are fair use. It's a review. It's taking that footage and doing something else with it, often a parody, as well as review. So it's a shame, but that's kind of the way. Ben Cole, I seem to always be betting website ads when I'm watching your videos. Strange, because I don't gamble. The betting ads, every now and then when I go on the video to look at comments and stuff, an ad will come up, and it is often betting, and I don't know if they sort of do that because I'm talking about Bond, so they just naturally assume that everyone who's into Bond is going to be into gambling. Cell09, I love Charles Gray as Blofeld. Well, I'm quite a fan myself. Hey, Calvin, what if Rockstar Games did a Bond game? I would love that. That is actually my dream case scenario if Rockstar were to do a Bond game. I'm really hoping that even if we don't get a film for the 60th anniversary, I would hope that they would have had, a time to develop a really good Bond game. But I think Eon just they're always focusing on the films, and the games are always a side tie-in, or they have been in the past. And I think the video game industry has moved a little bit beyond that now, and games need to be more than just, the movie's out, and here's the game, I will buy that for 20 quid. What would you do if you're in a taxi and all of a sudden the door's locked and the driver said, relax? That is a very good question, actually. I might need to think about that one. Favorite Bond girl? Oh, it's always been close for me between Vesper Lind, Tracy, and Natalia. Natalia was always the one that I kind of loved the most when I was a kid. Her and Mary Goodnight, funnily enough. And then Vesper, I think, is probably the best all-round written character in the series. And then Tracy Diana Rigg is fantastic in that role. She's just stunning. And her and Vesper, because we're supposed to buy that Bond is actually falling in love with them, I think they have a lot of work to do to make that, to really sell that. And I think they do that fantastically. Which actor, actress would you love to see play a Bond villain? Well, I would like more female main Bond villains. We've only really had Elektra, which is nuts when you think of like 25 films. Unless Madeline is revealed to be the villain in No Time to Die, which could happen, never know. Which actors, though? It's I'm always kind of I have a tough time when it comes to sort of hypothesizing actors, because I just end up going to the ones that I actually quite like. I think someone like Marion Cotillard might be a good villain, or I like the idea of having a main Bond villain who's also, quite a sexy, femme fatale sort of character. We need more new James Bond video games. I quite agree with that, Lorenzo. Yeah, definitely. Calvin, do you think Daniel Craig has too much influence over Bond these days, fashion, music, etc., to its detriment? I think No Time to Die is gonna answer that question for us. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of Spectre, and he had a lot of involvement in that. So, depending on how No Time to Die plays, really, I think we're gonna have an answer to that. Are you buying the new Bond postage stamps? I think I may well end up doing. Yeah. Not that I've ever, I've never collected stamps or anything, but some of them look really cool. I love how, for all of the Bond actors, they've chosen to represent their first film, except for Connery. They've gone for Goldfinger, obviously. Best chest hair, Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan? I don't think you can beat Sean Connery in the chest hair department. It looks like the softest. If I had to shave one of them and make a pillow out of their chest hair, it would be Sean Connery who I would pick. Judi Dench as a villain would be good. Yeah, no, Drew Bradley, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, who knows? Maybe she will be revealed to be the main villain of it all in No Time to Die. Wouldn't surprise me. Give us your pitch for a Bond film. Well, I'd have to non-disclosure agreement, y'all, because one day it might get made. It won't get made. No one will ever want to make the Bond film that I want. Do you also hope that Disney buys Bond, like Iger said? Well, Bob Iger isn't CEO of Disney anymore, so that might end up going by the wayside. I saw the James Bond wax figures at Madame Tussauds in Blackpool, and it was amazing. Ah, cool. No, I've not actually been to Madame Tussauds, so I would quite like to. Matthew the Geek. Hey, Calvin, which old villain would you like to see go up against Craig's Bond? I don't know if I'd like to see any of them, really. I like them all just existing in their own time, which is part of the reason why I'm really hoping that No Time to Die doesn't reveal Rami Malek to be Dr. No, because then I think that sets a precedent of, like, for every future Bond film, we're going to be sort of saying, like, oh, if they cast, like, quite a chubby guy in the role, we're going to be like, is it Goldfinger or, a guy with an eye patch? It must be Largo. And I don't want to get into that because I don't think it's a very interesting discussion to have, quite frankly. I don't think just doing that same villain again, naming a villain the same, I don't think it's terribly interesting. I still think, and I'm hoping, that Safin is going to be a amalgamation of unused elements from Fleming material. So, namely, unused stuff from Dr. No, the book, and You Only Live Twice with the Shatterhand stuff. Yeah, Henok, yeah, I don't want to have Rami become Dr. No. we're in complete agreement there. Faith, Hope, and Charity, Idris Elba as Bond. I think he's too old. Also, I just don't really see him as Bond. I did watch quite a bit of Luther recently, and I don't think he's as good an actor as he necessarily, as the public perception would lead you to believe. Especially in the first series of Luther, I thought he was doing a lot of like really over the top, like, rah, rah, and it was like, oh god, just the scene doesn't really require this. I don't know if he was being directed that way or whatever, but I felt like he went really overboard and into camp quite easily and quickly. So I don't know if he'd, be the best actor for the role, quite frankly. Fork over the Sean Connery chest hair pillows. Lex, they are mine. They are very comfortable. They go very well with my memory foam mattress. Do you like Mystery Science Theater 3000? If so, who's your favorite host and favorite episode? You know what? I really like Mystery Science Theater 3000, but I've only ever watched it on YouTube. So I don't see the wraparounds. I don't actually know who the hosts are necessarily. I just watch the favorite ones that I like are the ones where they're talking about like old, 50s public service information stuff, where it's like, telling teenagers to be respectful to their parents and they're reacting to that. I think all that stuff is really great. Idris has a Connery-like quality, but he's too old now. I quite agree with you on the too old bit. I just don't think he's that good an actor. Willem Dafoe is a villain. Could work. Yeah, I mean, obviously he was a villain in Everything or Nothing, the video game. As likely as it may be, what would your thought be on a period piece Bond film set in the 60s? I'm not a huge fan of the idea, because I think a part of why the series has always worked so well is that it's always looking forward. It's always moving with the times, and I think that's quite cool. And I don't know if going back to the 60s would necessarily be the right thing to do. Why did you bottle getting a pic with Brosnan in Iceland? Because he was there with his wife. All of us were just there in our swimming gear, so I'm, I don't work out. I do not have the most imposing of frames, and I just felt very conscious, like going up with my pasty British man body and being like, oh, hello, Mr. Brosnan. And I had an air of like, kind of leave him alone sort of thing. So, yeah, that's why I did that. Did you play Red Dead Redemption 2? No, I haven't, but that's another one that I have to. Favorite vodka martini, shaken, not stirred in the series. Was in the line. I don't know, because I like it when they kind of play with it. I like in some of the Craig ones where, like in Skyfall, where he doesn't actually order it, but they're just making it and then pouring it, and he's like, perfect. And then Casino Royale, do I look like I give a damn? I like that kind of stuff. Even The Spy Who Loved Me is probably my favorite instance of a vodka martini, where Anya obviously orders it for Bond, which I think is really nice. But of course, Bond does not actually order it. Do you think Mission Impossible is in the Bond universe? No, it isn't. Just because the movie series is owned by a different studio, so unless there is some kind of buyout in the future, I can't imagine there being some kind of Ethan Hunt versus James Bond sort of film. I don't know if that would be in either franchise's interest, to be honest. Will you ever review the new James Bond comics? You know what? I've actually got quite a few as well. It's quite shameful that I've not gone to them, but because I'm reading the novels, that kind of takes up most of my reading time. Right, is Skyfall still your favorite film? It's a good question, that, because I don't really. It's that and GoldenEye, like depending on the day. Because I watch those ones quite frequently, and every time I finish watching one of them, I'm like, yeah, that's it, that's my favorite, and then I'll go and watch the other one, and then I'll be like, yeah, that's my favorite. If there is a Christmas Jones Funko Pop, would you buy it? Yes, absolutely, Hunter. Like, please, if there is ever a Christmas Jones Funko Pop, everyone, please let me know. I will pop my Funko Pop virginity for a Christmas Jones Funko Pop. I would absolutely love such a thing. Waltz Blofeld or Dominic Green? Oh, God. Oof. Waltz as Blofeld? Maybe? Oh, God, I don't know. That's a really difficult question. That's like death by poison or death by nails. I don't know, really. Would you like the nails that would you like the nails that are going to kill you to be rusty or merely dripping with TB? What's your favorite death metal song? I don't really know if I have a favorite death metal song. Mr. Volt's doing just a jump to the left in No Time to Die. I would love that. If there is any kind of reference to jumping to the left, I will be standing up in the cinema and being like, they watch my videos. Hello, Gummy Bear 2. Glad you could join. Do you have the Icebreaker Bond book? Yes, I do, VLF, but that is in my rucksack, which is in a different room because that's the one that I read on my commute. I only really read these on my commute, so I maybe do like a chapter or two a day. I read quite slowly, to be honest, but it is nice on the tube when I'm just trying to avoid making eye contact with people and also avoiding coughs on me. We re-rank the Bond themes after No Time to Die? Quite possibly at some point. I'm certainly going to be doing a new Bond girl ranking after No Time to Die. I was going to do one before, well, not that long ago, actually, and then I was like, actually, maybe Madeline won't deserve to be the dishonorable mention after No Time to Die, so we'll see. Do you watch other James Bond reviews and steal ideas for them, or do you keep it to yourselves? Well, I don't know if anyone necessarily steals ideas from each other, especially because so much of what we do, or at least what I do anyway on my channel, is just opinions, really. I just sort of consume some form of James Bond media and then make a video about my opinion on it, really. So, yeah, it's a bit hard to steal opinions. But have I actually got any? Well, no, I watched quite a few of them. Bond Experience, obviously, David Zaritsky, Dutch Bond fan. I've watched for years. Joseph Darlington on Being James Bond. He has a YouTube channel as well as like the podcast as well. So I more often than not listen to the podcast version whilst I'm walking to the tube to go on my commute and then read the Bond book. So James Bond accompanies me on my commute every day, really. Have you seen Cats? No, I haven't, but I would love to see Cats. I hear it's like completely batshit mental. How about reviewing the extras on the DVDs and Blu-rays, Cliff, for number one? Yeah, well, actually, because I did my video for the Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond special, and that kind of gave me a bit of an itch for, because there's another sort of clip show on, it's on the Living Daylights Blu-ray where they have Roger Moore sort of like in originally filmed bits, like introducing clips from the film. So yeah, I think I might actually end up doing a review of that. Commander Bond, what is your most real Bond moment? Probably drinking too many martinis, sadly. I'm sorry, I've not jumped out of a plane or shot a firearm or dived onto the back end of a tube. Just drink. Really, just drink a lot. Cats has got James Corden in it. Oh god, it has. All right then, nah, I'm not bothered about it. Bill Conti or John Barry, pick one. It'd have to be John Barry. It would. Scariest Bond scene, Connor Bench. I think the scariest Bond scene is quite possibly in Octopussy with the I know this sounds ridiculous to say, but the clowns, the clown and the twins at the towards the start of the film. I think that's pretty atmospheric and quite scary, really. Did you ever get recognized in the street? Well, yeah, actually, once in a while. The most random one was I was coming back from Brighton one morning and I went into the Marks and Spencers and got a meal deal for the train, and one of the guys who was working there was like, "Oh, you're Calvin, you do the YouTube videos," and we did introduce ourselves. I'm sorry if you're watching this because I completely forgot your name. Probably because I'm half a martini down. But yeah, that was nice. Worst Bond haircut. Timothy Dalton, License to Kill. He looks ragged in that film, and it's a large part to do with the haircut. My God. Do you prefer the video games or the books? When it comes to Bond, I'm definitely more of a video game person. Though some of the Flemings are like, because I was thinking like, well, if I could only exist with either Nightfire or Ian Fleming's Moonraker, that would be Sophie's Choice. I don't know if I could quite possibly do that. Calvin, why do you drink so much vodka? Why did you drink so much vodka that weekend away? Which weekend away? I drink vodka most weekends, so, or whiskey. Thoughts on a No Time to Die video game could be good with the Aston. I completely agree. I would love any kind of Bond game at this stage. Yeah, but sadly, Hilary Swank as a Bond girl, yeah, could work. I would quite like Hilary Swank. Dalton's hair was so bad, I quite agree. Akis, or is it Aki? What's your favorite scene music? I was thinking about this. I do love the pipeline track when Bond and Christmas are defusing that bomb on the in that pipeline tube in The World Is Not Enough. It's just such a perfect. It's got that David Arnold suspense motif in that do 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 do, and it just how it builds, and then it just kind of goes nuts at the end with all the horns, which I think is really cool. And yeah, no, I love that. I listen to that quite frequently. Did you watch the film The Warriors? One of my favorite movies. I haven't seen The Warriors, actually, I'm afraid. The boat chase music in Twine might be my favorite action cue in the whole series. I'm not too far from that opinion, quite honestly. I think it's the World Is Not Enough soundtrack is probably my favorite of all the Bond soundtracks. I think it's really really quite cool, energizing. There's lots of really nice romantic pieces in it as well. I just think it's kind of like perfectly judged. Another fan of the pipeline track out there. Thank you. Mine is the Yolt roof scene. I do love that as well, Martina. When it goes to the big helicopter shot and Connery's there fighting everyone. I think it's really quite a lovely bit of music as well. Can Three Blind Mice technically be counted as the Bond song of Dr. No, considering it plays during the opening credits? Good observation there, actually. Ryan Jones. Calvin, raise money to make a Bond fan film. Oh, that would be interesting. I've not really seen that many of Bond fan films. I know that they do exist. I know that people do make them. But yeah, there's just so much of the universe that I have yet to consume that I haven't come to that kind of stuff yet. But Backseat Driver from Tomorrow Never Dies. Yep, Spencer Manbeans. Good name. Have you seen 1917? Sam Mendes directed it. I did, and I'm sorry to say this because I know that a lot of reviews have already said this, but it did kind of feel like you were just watching an extended cutscene from a video game. Like all you needed in front of the camera was like two hands like doing that, and it felt like it would be a Call of Duty game. Hey buddy, how would you like to see No Time to Die end? Ooh, God, that's a good question. Well, I don't want Bond to die. That's a fact. I mean, I like my old Bonds, so if Bond is, with some young bit of crumpet who's, they're just going to go off and have sex, and then M and the Minister of Defense and Q can come in and be like, well, Bond, what the hell do you think you're doing? Like, that's what I like about most Bond films. So I would quite like that. But why didn't you like 1917? Oh, no, I did like 1917. It did just feel like you're watching it felt like a really, really good cutscene from a video game. But I thought it was quite beautiful. It was, quite lovely. What is your favorite movie? No James Bond and no Alfred Hitchcock. Well, now you've put me in a corner, movie guy. The three that spring to mind are The Nightmare Before Christmas, the Disney film, The Great Dictator, the Charlie Chaplin film, and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. Those are like three of my absolute favorite films. I think they are pretty damn perfect, actually. In a lot of ways. So it'd be one of those, probably The Great Dictator, Charlie Chaplin film. It's from I think 1940 or 41. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. I think it's a good entry into Charlie Chaplin if you're not a big fan of silent films. He does get a bit preachy in it. It's quite politically charged. But I think it's funny and interesting and brilliant. So yeah, do check out The Great Dictator if you haven't seen it. I wasn't expecting to make Charlie Chaplin recommendations on this live stream tonight, but yeah, here we go. Cheers, folks. You know what? This Blackcurrant Vesper isn't going down half bad. Do you like the Studio Ghibli films? Ooh, yes, I do, actually. Howl's Moving Castle is probably my favorite. I really like Porco Rosso. Spirited Away is obviously quite lovely. Princess Mononoke I wasn't a huge fan of. My favorite anime film is Barefoot Gen, which is a really good, quite harrowing film, actually, I've heard it compared to Grave of the Fireflies. I think Grave of the Fireflies is a bit I felt too emotionally manipulated watching that film, whereas Barefoot Jen is a really good telling of the Hiroshima bombing or is it? Yeah, no, I think it's Hiroshima. Sorry, Hiroshima bombing. So it's based on a true story, but it's an animated film. It's fantastic. Christmas Jones is the worst Bond girl. Discuss. Well, I've actually been coming over to her a lot more recently. I don't know, when you compare it to some of the Bond girls in the 60s who might not necessarily be the best of actresses, I think she actually holds up quite well. You've seen Human Centipede? I have. And the second one as well, and they're interesting films, aren't they? Actually, I think the first Human Centipede is really good. Body horror is a genre that I think it's quite hard to make new leaps and bounds in and do something kind of unique and different, and I think it did that, and it's really gross and sick, and yeah, I thought the sequels were pretty terrible, though. Do you think David Arnold will return? I would like him to return. He gave me a little telling off on Twitter actually a couple of days ago. So yeah, be interesting if ever I have to go up to him and ask him to sign one of the soundtracks. Hans Zimmer is on board already for No Time to Die. Indeed he is, but I think that perhaps David Arnold, I hope he could come back at some point in the future. Just saw a No Time to Die trailer before The Invisible Man earlier. Very cool. I really want to see The Invisible Man. That's my favorite of the old Universal horror films, The Invisible Man, so I would quite like to see this new one. Did you watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Yeah, great film. Very, very long. But any chance of a Hitchcock review in the future? Well, that'll be up. Yeah, actually. I was going to say it'll be up to Patreons, but actually, maybe I will do another one at some point, because Hitchcock did do a lot of spy films that I think are quite interesting in how they influenced Bond. So, yeah. Right. Any chance of a Hitchcock review in the future? Yep. I saw The Invisible Man today. It was good. Oh, good. I'm glad that people are enjoying it. Calvin, my favorite bits of music from the Bond soundtrack are Flowers for Teresa at the start of For Your Eyes Only. Yes. And the start of the end credits for Moonraker. Yeah, I love those pieces as well. Yeah, I love the gun barrel music in For Your Eyes Only. It's so, I love it. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that film, but every time it starts and that like disco Bond music comes on, I do kind of love it. Do you think a Bond stage play would work? It's the only medium he hasn't faced. You know, I've never actually considered that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, I don't see why not. Wasn't one of Harry Saltzman's kids trying to do some kind of like Bond spoof musical a few years ago, but it got nixed. Right. Calvin, Quantum of Solace, more awful as a book or movie? At least it's not really, Quantum of Solace isn't a book, it's a short story, and at least the short story is short, but then I guess the movie's short. If I had to experience one again, I suppose I would watch the movie, so take from that what you will. Are you going to review No Time to Die 1958 Universal Explores? I have been thinking about that actually, but it would depend on getting a good enough copy of it, because of course there are a lot of things that went on to be an influence in Bond. Like obviously Terence Young directed, Luciana Paluzzi, who's Fiona Volpe in Thunderball, is in it. So yeah, I think it'd be quite interesting to look into. Calvin, do you think coronavirus will help or hurt No Time to Die, since current events sound so similar to the film's plot? Well, I mean, I guess it would hurt the film if it's still as big a issue as it is now when the film comes out and there's all quarantines. I mean, they've already had to cancel some of their press junkets in some Asian countries as a result of it. So it would no doubt hinder the box office. I'm just hoping the release date doesn't get moved. Could you imagine? Especially because, like, I know quite a few people who've already booked tickets to come over to London for it, and there's plenty of events that have been organised to kind of correspond with the film. So I think it would be a crying shame if it was moved. The worst Bond haircut was Thunderball. The worst Bond hair piece was Thunderball. Might be a more appropriate statement. Best Lindsay Lohan film. Brilliant. Excellent. Mean Girls is the best Lindsay Lohan film by far, closely followed by Freaky Friday. Favorite month of the year? October, because it's my birthday and I'm an autumn person. I don't really like temperatures that are too hot. So autumn, nice. Yeah, London in autumn is quite beautiful, I think. What's your opinion about the James Bond v Daniel Craig Heineken TV? I thought it was quite nice. Yeah, I didn't have terribly strong opinions about it, so I didn't feel the need to make a video on it necessarily. Calvin, do you sometimes wonder how Tarantino's Casino Royale with Brosnan would be like? Oh, that is one of those, like, yeah, no, definitely. Like, the whole, if I could live in that alternate reality where Quentin Tarantino's Casino Royale with Pierce Brosnan existed, I would be so thrilled to see what that would have been like. But it would have definitely made it would have been a film to stand on its own right, rather than the Daniel Craig one, which obviously they're still talking about plot threads from Casino Royale. So, last but not least, good evening. Evening, Martin H. Do you like Harry Potter? I don't mind Harry Potter, actually. I rewatched the series not that long ago. And yeah, I thought, because the only well, I know I'd watched them through a few years ago as well, and then prior to that, the only time I'd seen them would be like at the cinema, like whenever they came out. And I read up to book 4 when I was a kid, and then I kind of got bored magic, and I don't really like magic stuff, so I didn't read all the books, and then the films come out, and I'm like, God, I don't know what the difference is between a Patronus, a Horcrux, a Deathly Hallow, a what else is there? There's plenty more jargony sort of stuff. And I'm just like, it just goes way over my head. Have you seen Kings with Halle Berry and Daniel Craig? I have not, actually. Do you continue to tell the ending of Thunderball to fuck off? I know I asked you this last month. No, I've mellowed to Thunderball a bit more these days. I've gone from how the hell does anyone like this? Oh, I guess I can sort of understand why people would perhaps like it. But there was a really great tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it actually the other day when we're talking about length of Bond films. And they tweeted that the length of the Bond films are irrelevant. The longest is and always will be Thunderball. And I thought that was quite good. Obviously, it is not that, it's not the longest runtime, but it feels the longest. I just explained the joke there. I don't quite know why I did that. Will you review Phantom of the Opera, the 1925 silent film? It's an interesting request. If I were to ever start up another YouTube channel where I talked about movies other than Bond and spies, then yes, because I love my Universal horror, but not on this channel anyway, because I'd like to keep this focused on Bond and spies. Calvin, what is your horror movie? My horror movie of choice? Psycho, if you count that as a horror film, I think you can make a case for it as more of a thriller than a horror. And if you are one of those people, then the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, is, definitely my favorite horror film. Considering both Skyfall and Spectre, what do you think of Thomas Newman's music for Bond? I don't know if he was necessarily terribly appropriate. I do like his Skyfall stuff, but he did just do that exact same thing again in Spectre, and Spectre has one bit of music that I absolutely adore, and it's when Hinks is chasing Bond and they're going up to some kind of public building or special building. I'm sorry, I don't know Rome very well, so I don't know what it is, but they're coming up to it, and the music, it proper, like, you hear a choir doing the and I think that moment is fantastic. But that is like literally the 5 seconds of most joy I have in that entire film. Do you enjoy reading about real life espionage as well as fictionalized stories? I do, actually, and I don't know if that's just a part of like having grown up with Bond, so just have naturally an affinity for for spies and espionage and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a fan. Enough of the lust over Emma Watson. Yeesh, is someone lusting over Emma Watson here? Won't stand for that on this channel. Nah, actually, I think Emma Watson's probably all right. She seems nice as a person anyway. I don't rate her terribly as an actress. Technically, they crossed into the Vatican City Inspector during that car chase. Ben Cole is a encyclopedia of these facts. I absolutely, like, some of my favorite comments on my channel actually come from Ben Cole, because they're always really detailed, often have a lot of stuff that I don't even know, which is, which I do love. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in. God, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Emma Watson as a Bond girl here. Right. Okay, I've got time for another couple more questions, then I'm going to have to say goodbye, I'm afraid. I need to freshen up my drink. Which, is actually going down pretty all right now. Sorry. Wasn't going down that well then. What was Bond's hardest mission, physically and mentally? Oh, that's a very good question. Oh, I don't know, actually. Tomorrow Never Dies, he took quite a beating, didn't he? World's Not Enough was pretty big. I think Man with the Golden Gun's an interesting one because, especially because I looked at the film in a lot of detail recently, it's very, the Bond doesn't actually do that well in that mission. Him and Goodnight make a lot of screw-ups, and Hip as well. So I don't know if it was hard from the point of, Bond just didn't do a very good job, but whatever. How would you rank the Johnny English movies? Ooh, okay, it would be the second one, the first one, the third one. I can't remember what the subtitles are, but yeah, the second one I think is the best, followed by the first, and then I thought the third one was actually quite poor. Do you speak French? Oui? No, I do not. I do not speak French, I'm afraid. Would quite like to, but I do that traditional British thing of saying, oh, it would be lovely to learn another language, wouldn't it? And then sort of like make very little effort to actually rectify that. Best title for any piece of Bond media? Ooh, that's a good question. Probably either... I know I'm going by two of the films here. Maybe it's just because they're there, so they're fresh in my mind. But The World Is Not Enough and The Spy Who Loved Me, I think, are two quite beautiful titles and just lines. I think they're, really, really good. Javier Bardem from Skyfall, does he come across a gay villain in your opinion? He certainly comes across as bisexual. I guess he keeps Severin around as his mole. So but then he comes on to Bond as well. But then that was the thing going back to Fleming, like a lot of the villains in Fleming, Scaramanga, for example, in The Man with the Golden Gun is bisexual. And I guess that comes because like Fleming had some kind of, fascination about, he lived next door to Noel Coward, so maybe he was just fascinated by people who were not heterosexual. Risiko is a great title of a Bond film. I quite agree, actually, Matthew. Risiko is, I think, the only remaining title that they haven't used from Fleming that I think they could use, and it wouldn't be ridiculous. As much as I like Property of a Lady, I don't know if that title is going to appeal to people just like wanting, it sounds a bit flowery, a bit like Quantum of Solace, really. Or Genoma of a Woman, which, I sort of came around to, but there's no doubt it would have been flowery. Have you read The Secret Agent? No, I have not, actually. Will you review other spy Bond spoofs like Carry On Spying? I would like to, actually, yeah. I put up the things on my Patreon page every once in a while, and I'll do like a comedy spy thing. So yeah, I'd like to. Can I have a theme song ranking again? Just an update from the last one. Yeah, definitely. Gary Bryant, Friends reunion, any view? I think it's foolish of them to announce it as a reunion because it is the 6 actors coming together, but it is not going to be it's not going to be another episode or a TV movie or anything like that, which I think is such a mistake, and people are going to be so disappointed when they get their HBO Max subscription and it's the 6 of them sat around kind of like talking about their best bits and highlights and stuff, so... Whatever. I was always more of a Frasier fan myself than Friends. Have you seen Doctor Sleep? No, I haven't, I'm afraid. Nor have I seen Somewhere in Time. When Helga tries to trap Bond on the plane, where did that wooden panel come from? It wouldn't have fit inside the plane. Constantine is... Yeah, never considered that, Constantine, but thank you for that. Yeah, just, when they go to get into the plane, Bond sees this massive bit of wood sticking out the side of the plane, like, Kelsey Grammer as a Bond villain, I would love that. See, if I were to pitch a Bond film, I would have that shit in my Bond film. Kelsey Grammer would be the first person I would call to be a Bond villain, and that's why my Bond film will never get made. No one will ever commission it. Unless the film franchise gets to a point where it's so down on its luck that it turns to the, people online to pitch in ideas, and then I'll be first in the queue. Calvin, when will you attend the 60th anniversary Jubilee show of the Bond franchise, and why? I didn't even know there was a Jubilee show. If there is, I would like to go. Have you seen Sonic? No, I have not. If we saw Little Nelly in You Only Live Twice, will we ever see Big Nelly? That is, yeah. This has been a good live stream. I'm considering things I've never considered before. This is pretty cool. Your Bond film would be the campiest of them all, and intentionally so. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to have to wrap it up here. My voice is going a little bit, and I need to freshen up my drink. So thank you, though, for joining. And I, yes, hope to have another one of these up soon, hopefully with a bit more notice. I normally like to give a bit more notice when I'm going to do a live stream, but like I say, I was in the middle of assembling my Lego Aston Martin. The battery on my camera ran out, so I just thought I'd pop on. Yeah. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, Bond fans. So long for now, in fact. Peace, Daniel. Hennock, bye-bye, Calvin, goodbye. Martina, goodbye. Right, well, thank you, everyone, and hope to, yeah, see you all again soon. Take care, Bond fans. So long. Right, well, gonna end it. Yep.